Well, there we have it. Another year of content is done for The Sims 4. We're not getting any new packs. Also, no new kits. Hallelujah. And also, we did just get a base game update. Obviously, the wintertime event is going on right now. However, everything like new content-wise has pretty much been done. I also have a feeling that the beginning of 2025 is also going to be ridiculously chaotic because obviously in February we will be celebrating the 25th anniversary for The Sims, which is wild to be celebrating that as a franchise. Or it's gonna be quiet in terms of content, but obviously like on socials, maybe like with events and stuff, it will still busy in terms of that content. We'll just have to wait and see. But with everything being released this year, I decided why not do one last pack hint roundup. These are some of my favorite videos to make. Also, am I making this to fill the void of the fact that I missed the Eras Tour book being in stock? Yes, absolutely. My little Swifty heart can't read into that right now, and I'm too sad about the Eras Tour ending, so why not just focus on pack hints in The Sims 4 instead? I wanted to start off with something that we have spoken about on my channel before now. It also very heavily links to this card. Obviously, this card was originally used when we got the quarterly teaser for obviously this last quarter of the year, which included The Sims 4 Life and Death. But a lot of people saw this obviously without the color and stuff and is like, ooh, is that like a rebirth of a sim? Which it could still very much be tying to. I didn't want to focus on these tarot cards too much, even though the designs are impeccable, incredible. A lot of them do just tend to have Easter eggs in reference to like past Sims games. There's like a lot of medieval references, obviously, and whilst that could be tied to hints, if you want to call them that, I just felt like this was really a time for the team to kind of have fun, bring in a lot of those Easter eggs, and basically just like let the artist go at it, have some fun, and just like design these in the way that they want to. But a lot of people were like, ooh, are we getting editable worlds in The Sims 4? Are we getting create a world? Are we getting the update to manage worlds that was floating around like a fair few months ago now as an update? We haven't received any of those. However, all of these items here weirdly do specifically mention different worlds, and I kind of just wanted to include them as a collection because so many of them reference different Sims worlds. Now obviously Ravenwood is referenced an awful lot. You came to Ravenwood for a reason. Let this sign guide you in your travels. Now I have spoken about like a destination pack or a vacation or like a travel pack. Obviously we did also get that survey which was talking about like a travel van, like tiny van situation, which obviously would very much include travel. I just found it really bizarre that so many of these mentioned different worlds. So we have this prideful llama griff bench which mentions San Myshuno and basically goes into like detail of like lore of where the llama griffs live. Then we have this gravesite filled with the dirt sourced from the finest artisan mud piles in Salvadorada. Now, both of those are technically places where you can go and rent things out. You can obviously travel to those places. This one is about Strangerville. Redacted Laboratories Strangerville branch is legally obligated to inform you that the stone used to construct this gravesite was grown from synthetic material, mainly comprised of redacted and small traces of allegedly toxic redacted. Exploring the sites also very much leads to travel. Obviously, when it comes to the journal that you can like write about your hopes and dreams, your bucket list, a lot of people's bucket list do tend to have travel part of them. But this one specifically mentions your iconic vacation in Tartosa last summer. Oh wait, you stopped doing brunch because none of the restaurants in town carry the exact brand of nectar. Nectar was also mentioned a lot, which I kind of just put that down to the fact that obviously there is is a nectar in horseradish that can actually help you to stop aging and therefore puts off kind of the life and death aspect. We obviously already have nectar making, so I didn't really want to talk about that too much. This little hole that you can put up on your wall said, if you set a piece of land on a map, you might find yourself somewhere unexpected 1 year from now. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of travel references in all of these objects. Most of them actually come from life and death itself. Actually, most of these objects I'm gonna be talking about in this video come from life and death. That's really where I seem to like draw the hints from, and where there was really strong connections throughout a lot of these objects. I always do give the disclaimer, of course, if they're all in one pack, then a lot of objects can have like a consistent through line. So sometimes I imagine the devs do just get inspired by like other descriptions that they've written, and then they're like, oh, that's actually a really cool theme that I wish to continue to like touch upon throughout these other object descriptions. I'm not reading too deeply into this. However, I do think that they have spoken about travel and different worlds a lot recently, and obviously with that travel van being part of the survey, potentially it could be coming for next year. Ravenwood, that's where we are. That's real. Sixham, dunno, never been there, not real. Duh. This lamp was made in headquarters hidden underground in an undisclosed neighborhood of San Myshuno. Sounds suspicious if you ask me. It's a wild world out there. You never know if it'll be your last chance to do so. I still don't really know how they would do like a travel van, like tiny van life kind of expansion. We do already have Tiny Living, and a lot of us were disappointed with the assets that came with Tiny Living because they didn't really feel all that much smaller than we're used to seeing. Maybe you would be able to like decorate the interior of like a van shell, and then potentially your Sims could like get in it. They work like Sims 2 cars, and then you could like drive off to different worlds. I said that I would enjoy that expansion. I know a lot of people wouldn't, but I already play my game in that kind of way, and I think having that realism would definitely make me enjoy it a little bit more. Let me know how you feel about this as a whole. Do you think maybe we're getting like an editable world? Do you think we're getting a create a world tool? Do you think that they're just updating manage worlds? Or do you think this relates to travel? This is one that I've spoken about at length in other like pack hint videos, so I don't really want to focus on it too much. And also, it could just be me wishful thinking. I still want fairies at the end of the day. I don't know if fairies will be coming. It does feel like with Lovestruck, we got a lot of butterflies. Again, with Life and Death, we also got a lot of butterflies. The butterfly wings can also very much be seen as like fairy wings, and a lot of these kind of just have like either moths or butterflies on them, which I know is very, very representative of Rebirth. But all of them kind of have iconography with wings, and so I did just want to bring it up again. It got little butterflies up on the top of that column. This is actually called the Midnight Butterfly Chair. An elegant butterfly is hunted by a dreaded wolf in the dark of the night. I feel like fairies were so closely tied to werewolves in The Sims 3. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like when I did my Supernatural Let's Play, those two like really worked hand in hand, and I really like that about the relationship between fairies and werewolves in The Sims 3, and I think it would be sick if they could kind of carry that on in The Sims 4. I kind of took this as maybe a werewolf seeing what they thought was a butterfly in the dark of the night, but really, obviously, that would probably be like lit up. It would be luminescent. That kind of gives me fairy vibes a little bit more than butterflies. Then we also had everyone's favorite Whispering Wren, which already, I don't know why, but like Whispering Wren kind of gives me fairy vibes. Dainty mushrooms peeking through the cracked leaves on a forest floor. What else feels like they could do that? Fairies. Local fable speaks of an ethereal and childlike mushroom spirit existing in the land between life and death. Now, obviously, obviously this could just be the Sims lore of how you actually like pass notes on to the deceased, which is fine. However, the tie to like nature and flowers and mushrooms definitely feels like it could be a tie to fairies. There's also quite a few hints to whispering, and again, I don't know why that gives me fairies. I think it's to do with like nature. Like this is elegance of nature with a macabre twist. Eerie, mysterious charm to any space, creates a striking focal point. Its shadow whispering blooms. What do they whisper, you might ask? That's the thing, no one can understand it. It's unintelligible. Obviously, the guardian tree can talk to you. If you do Alice's Sorrows quest, you obviously can then start to talk to the guardian tree. The guardian tree can like open up to you. So again, it could just be the law of life and death. But then they say until you hear it speak, of course. What could also be speaking? Fairies in the forest. The hole looks like it was made by a small malevolent spirit. I would love it if fairies in The Sims 4 were cheeky, were malevolent. I want a little bit of evil in our occults. I feel like ghosts, they kind of got it, but at the end of the day, it wasn't like as strong as I would want. And I can just imagine fairies in this version of the game being so cheeky, and I want it so desperately, because spellcasters didn't do it for me. Vampires were like alright, and then ghosts were kind of there. Also, don't judge the malevolent spirit on the size of their hole. This chair played a role in fairies just because of the wings. However, I found all of these really interesting. They all talk about a maelstrom. Maelstrom, I do apologize. And a maelstrom is a powerful whirlpool in the sea or a river. Are they potentially hinting at an update for mermaids? Obviously, we did just get a new mermaid urn, so potentially they could have just been hinting towards that, but that came out before Life and Death. This bed has an idyllic yet unsettling appeal, draw you in with its siren song. Obviously, sirens are kind of the evil versions of mermaids. They tempt you into the waters with their voice. I think it would be so sick if we actually got sirens in The Sims 4. I would be obsessed with that idea. I needed it yesterday. I would love it if we got an update to mermaids. And they added finally a power tree that you could go up and level up in. If mermaids could be as good as the mermaid mod, I would be so happy. All of these kind of did mention the maelstrom, which is realistic because all of them have this like spiral on them. But then we also got this giant mollusk poof. Have you ever wanted to find yourself in a situation that one could only be described as briny, squishy, eldritch horror? Today's your lucky day. The moist squelch. I apologize to your eardrums. That echoes through the room as you take a seat on this scallop-esque seat. What? Oh my goodness. Could you write a more confusing sentence if you tried? Left a bunch of rotting fish in baskets for unfortunate adventurers, you know, travel once again. And then in the nursery kit that we actually got, we got the Little Haven rocking chair. This was interesting because it had like a little shell on it, maybe hinting at a mermaid update. Speaking of the nursery kit, when I actually made my overview on this kit, so many people were talking about the fact that we could be getting a circus pack. Now, hear me out, okay? The Sims team, just keep in mind, this is the same set of developers. Someone, I'm fairly sure, asked SimGuru Grant years and years ago when Cats and Dogs came out, hey, are we gonna have dog houses, or like, why don't we have dog houses in The Sims 4 Cats and Dogs? And he replied with, I just don't like the idea of dog houses. Just taking that and taking this with a pinch of salt, I don't think the team who said that would give us a circus pack or like circus themes. Fair enough, they gave us, I guess, kind of circus themed things here. It's not trapping animals in a cage and making them look all sad, like actually in real life. That's my personal opinion. You might feel differently about that. I just think this was a joint decision, obviously, with Sixim to be like, okay, let's get a cute little nursery theme. I've also very much talked about a time travel pack and maybe something of that occurring in the game. Obviously, we did get a kit this year, which was all about castles, and I know that people have very much said that they would love a kind of medieval type pack or a royalty pack, and a lot of objects very much have given the aura of those. A lot of things have mentioned timelessness, and all of these kind of bring on either timelessness or nostalgia. Now, the timelessness could really just be a word that they use. Honestly, if it is, Sims team, I think it's time to move on, because I feel like every single pack hint video I've done in probably the last 2 years has mentioned timelessness at one point. Specifically in like the last 6 months, it has been their go-to word. And I get it, there's probably Swifties on the team, but we can step away from that buzzword. But you've got the Mournful Melodies music box, which actually plays old school Sims themes, which I think is so cute. But obviously it does very much talk about recollection and reminiscing and kind of that nostalgia that we as Simmers feel. Looking to the future, maybe because we're getting a time travel pack of Vincent Schnapple, which, by the way, can I just say, the lore in some of these descriptions, Vincent, there's a couple of other people mentioned. I'll get into some of the lore in Life and Death in just a little bit. If you haven't read the descriptions of Life and Death, please do. They're some of my favorite item descriptions that we have. A vintage inspired sofa reminiscent of an elegance of the distant past, slowly be swallowed into the abyss. Again, that could potentially be leading to like mermaids over here, but timeless charm and opulence. It's giving royal, it's giving Princess Cordelia, like royalty. We even had it in the nursery kit, much like a royal throne. Truly timeless and guaranteed to add a spark of color or joy to any nursery. I didn't want to include everything that talked about passing things down through generations. We had an awful lot of heirloom references in the nursery pack, but obviously those were kind of hints, I guess, or like confirmation at that point about Life and Death. Maybe I should do a roundup of all the clues that I've spoken about the past few years. Like pretty much since Growing Together came out is when I really started making these types of videos, and go through everything that we have actually seen in The Sims 4 so far, or just like running themes that we have yet to see. Vintage style is evocative of a grand masquerade ball attended by nobility from all over the country. We did obviously also have on the tarot cards a Princess Cordelia reference with the pirate ship in the background, eating strawberries for a girl, whereas carrots for a boy are on the floor next to the rabbits. But I do know that Princess Cordelia is Simguru Morgan's like favorite piece of Sims lore ever, so I can imagine Morgan had some input on this and was like, please give me a tarot that has Princess Cordelia on it. Deadly combination of timeless style emits a light that could make even the deepest of dungeons, you know, dungeons, castles, perhaps. Lots of timeless style that could outlive even the guardian of the tree. Cascading in a graceful ballet. Oh my god, give us a ballet bar. Yes. Give us more hobbies. Marking time with a mischievous glint. As each grain falls, echoes of laughter and forgotten dreams fill the air. A whimsical reminder of life's enchanting, fleeting waltz. Kind of giving Bridgerton royalty balls. Timelessness. I see you, Sims team. Speaking of hobbies, why don't we talk about them? Why don't we talk about the elephant in the room? An ornate archway, perfect set piece for singing your haunting stanzas of the night. How else are you supposed to revel in the tender caress of the abyss? Again, kind of leading to the abyssness of Mermaid. Perhaps you'd be interested in crooning amidst the curtains of a slightly taller version. Don't be afraid to amp up bands. You know, you play guitar, you have an amp. Also, I mean, the biggest hint towards bands I feel like we got in The Sims 4 Life and Death is the fact that Olive Specter's husband actually is in a band. I mean, come on now. Then we also had the Modern Grimpressions desk. What a sad ballad we sing in life's concert. This is more so focusing on the band pack, like hobbies aspect, and then these are more so the hobbies. I got confused then for a second. And then obviously the little grim bunny that we have seen. Now, this is kind of just like as iconic as the Freezer bunny at this point. He is actually a guitar. He's an electric guitar, which I still want different guitars to make different sounds. But he's been set free. He's no longer in the clutches of that freezer. Well, he is. He's in the fridge right now. No longer a guitar, not hung up on the wall. Definitely not a giant stage prop. Shout out to you, Get Famous. You will always be famous to me. And then more on the general hobbies. And now these were the reason I actually wanted to make this video, because I joked, obviously, when we got the base game update the other day, that we were going to get some form of quilt making. I actually said this back in the release trailer of Life and Death. I saw this quilt thing. I'm fairly sure quilts were also at some point mentioned in like the blog post, but we've had a lot of like quilts recently. I would absolutely love quilting as a hobby. Imagine being able to like put them over a bed after your sim has made them. Knitting is one of my favorite hobbies that we have in the game, as is cross stitch. And I know people might call me a little old lady for that, not only for the glasses chain, but also for my love of crafty hobbies. I don't do either of those things. My girlfriend does both, and I am obsessed with watching her do both of those things. Quilting, I would be so down for our sims to be able to do. I would just want it in a wider general hobbies expansion at this point, but hey, if we get a stuff pack about quilting, sign me up. Only be brought out once a year when Cool Company comes over, and I need to see him like a cool guy who has hobbies and interests. Also, not them calling out coffee table book that I am about to receive for Christmas that I will actually read, because over on Blue Sky the other day I was like, I need Arcane to release a coffee table book of like all the behind the scenes, little tidbits, like concept art, all of that. And then I found out that that was very much a thing that is coming out in a couple of days, and I cannot wait. That went straight on my Christmas list. It's got to the point where my girlfriend is like, please stop talking before you ruin all of your presents. Also, the Arcane Brain Rot is really helping with Christmas presents. Obviously, we've got reference to Artisan. This usually happens in The Sims 4. I do like to really push it on in there when it comes to talking about hobbies, but they do tend to use Artisan as a descriptive quite a lot. Perhaps it's okay to indulge in a little fun. How's that for optimism? Sims team, this feels like a call out post. This feels like a call out post for my optimism towards us getting a hobbies expansion at some point. I've been talking so loudly about this since like 2017. Yeah, I do have optimism. Yeah, I am holding out hope. I'm glad you noticed. Good old hand-carved classic wooden podiums to get the job done. Well, you know what we can't currently hand-carve and we can't make on the woodworking table? Podiums. You know what? I would love an update to the woodworking table, which I feel again could potentially come in the trailer for Life and Death. There was a sim who had a woodworking table behind him. There was like wood on it. It definitely, I think, was just debug or something of that nature. It was kind of trailer magic. They just added stuff on to make it look like he was working on something different, but definitely I feel could be a hint to maybe a woodworking update, being able to craft more things on the table. Give us like a bassinet, give us a wedding arch, give us those like big family heirlooms that we can create ourselves, dolls' houses that we could pass on from generation to generation. I wanted it before Life and Death. It didn't happen, but I will not stop talking about it. Real quickly, because this is definitely a theme that I've gone over multiple times, but there's an awful lot of reference to like sun and stars. Now, obviously in Life and Death, that could very much just be to do with tarot, which like I fully understand if that is the case. However, I was fully expecting, honestly, Life and Death to come with like star signs and astrology. It didn't happen. We did just get tarot. However, I do still think there are a lot of references to the cosmic jumble of juxtaposed emotions. Oh my god, did you read my Spotify Wrapped? Because that's basically what it described me as. Also, loads of these like dreams. I've noticed a lot of like dreams and whimsy references. I talked about this actually in Growing Together, I'm fairly sure as well. There was an awful lot of that, and in Horse Ranch there was a lot of moon symbolism, and I was kind of tying it to like astrology and stuff, but maybe potentially like a dream maker situation. I don't really know. I don't know what dreams could be leading towards, but only the beginning of a long descent into the claws of entropy foretold by the stars. Then you have deconstruction part 1. What do you see? If you said a chicken, you shall have the best meal of your life in a week. If you said shrugging floating t-shirt, you'll stain your favorite shirt next time you wear it. Be careful. If you said anything else, you're are objectively wrong. I can definitely see a chicken in this one. I mean, like its little head here and its beak, and then you got its breast, and then sorry for saying breast. Then you've got his feet and his tail. Then we have this one, a giant bat flying through the clouds. Obviously, this is the cloud, and then this is the bat, or a fairy. Hear me out. You shall be free of something that burdens you in the near future. And then you have part 3, a mouse yelling at a cloud. You know, here's the little mouse, here's the cloud. You'll find yourself in a futile argument sometime in the near future. If you said hatless gnome front flipping off, yes, we got confirmation. Sims know what front flipping off is. Perhaps it's time to take the leap and try the new thing you've been putting off. If you said anything else, you're objectively wrong. Those to me sound like horoscopes. I haven't really talked about the artisan, like artist kit all that much, but that's because there's not really too much in it that I felt gave any hints, to be completely honest. These splatters may have been unplanned, but what do you see? A face, a shape? Is it accidental or a message from the universe? Still giving star signs and astrology to me. Like, I just feel it has to be coming at some point. Stumble out of bed, find yourself on yet another wander through the night. You see a beautiful light, not just one light, but a whole host of them. Stars. Then on a lot of the banners, you had like the iconography of like the moon and the sun, you know, part of your star sign, the thing that makes you who you are. And I also know a lot of people don't believe in astrology in The Sims 4, in the sense that a lot of people are like, what would it actually do? I think it would be sick if it could actually affect like your weekly horoscope, and it can kind of work like a luck system that we had in The Sims 3. Maybe you could get luck in your career, and instead of having to complete everything in your career, maybe your boss just feels like giving you a promotion or a raise, or you find like money somewhere, and it could be like a pretty big sum of money, maybe just like on the floor whilst you're out in San Myshuno, for example. And then if you have bad luck, you could get demoted, you could have more chance of fires on your lot. I feel like there's so much gameplay wise they could do with star signs, because don't get me wrong, I don't think star signs were all that great in The Sims 3. They really only affected compatibility from what I remember about them, but I do think 4 could do them a lot better. This set of things were just weird. They talked so much about poop on tables. I wish I were joking, but I'm really not. Sims remains are not to be placed here. Please also refrain from piling large amounts of pet waste on this table in an attempt to please the stink spirits, or whatever you read on the forums that week. That debacle was a bit too interesting for a Tuesday, if you ask me. Who on the dev team was talking about placing poop on tables on a Tuesday? Like, what happened in the office? Slide into my DMs. Tell me the goss. I want to hear it. It's been a while since I've seen you all at a Sims camp. I feel like this needed to be a company email. In theory, fun and games until the miniature walking cow plant you inadvertently brought home with you from the office has an accident on your brand new coffee. Who pooped on a table in Max's headquarters? What is happening in the office? Secret goopy bottles. I swear this is a reference to Gwyneth Paltrow and her goop candle. You know the one that I'm talking about. It's weird brown goop. The goopiest goop imaginable. It's unbelievably stinky too. Sort of stink you can't place. Nondescript. Yeah, absolutely rancid. Why did I have to remind myself of those damn candles? Don't think we're getting pet poop on tables pack, but you never know after my first pet stuff. My first poop stuff. This one was kind of just wishful thinking. We have this little thing that came from the artist kit. Height sliders? No. It's definitely not gonna happen. I don't even want to put that thought into people's heads. All the other hints, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like, fair, have fun, let your imagination run away with you. I'm not letting you think that we're getting height sliders in The Sims 4. I simply refuse. But I knew a lot of you would enjoy this, so I decided to put it in. Honestly, can we get more actions to be able to do whilst we're relaxing on bed? I know this was probably just like concept art, but please give us different sleeping positions, you know, give us different things to do whilst our Sims relax. And then Plant Sims. I would love an update to Plant Sims. Hey, if you're gonna update mermaids, why don't you just update plant sims whilst you're at it. This, for those of you who don't know, is a reference to Sims 3 plant sim babies. They were the cutest little things. However, again, there is a plant sim mod that if you haven't checked it out, I did a video on it. It was excellent. And also I will link it down below because I think everyone should go check that out, as well as the expanded mermaids mod. Hell, I'll give you all the links to the absolutely incredible spinning plum bobs occult mods. And then really quickly, this is less about hints, but these are kind of the objects that basically talk about the two kind of lore characters I feel like we got in Life and Death. So first of all, you have Full of Pep. His family lived in a flowery cottage in Whispering Glen. Upbringing was humble but full of joy. Ironically, all that love produced the most bitter, hate-filled sim Ravenwood had ever seen. But perhaps the most important aspect of his legacy was his hatred for fellow writer Edward Talon Crow. He would never have admitted it, but he loved Edward's works and was eternally jealous of his depth and writing ability. So he dedicated the rest of his time to publishing extensive manifestos degrading Edward's character. Why they didn't add these two as ghosts in this world is beyond me, because all that juicy goss, enemies to lovers of like dead writers, sign me the hell up. The dying candle flickered on Edward Talon Crow's desk. He scrawled furiously with his feather quill by the candle's dull amber glow. Today it seemed more like a castle spire that was in my medieval, you know, royal set of objects, but I didn't talk about it because I couldn't find it in this wall of text. A viewpoint of defensive advantage and offensive pressure. To call his fellow writers peers would be a stretch. Okay. T. Penilla's last words before leaving him rang achingly in his mind as he wrote, "One day, Eddie, you'll amount to something. It's a shame I won't be around to see it." What a badass lady, can I just say? And then there is also this rug, which talks about Penilla, who is quite clearly either a descendant of Lunevik, you know, the werewolf. It's rumored that Penilla Lunevik created these more macabre inspired designs as a nod to, or perhaps in spite of, her former lover Edward Talon Crow when he left San Myshuno after they broke up. They were just kind of in competition with each other. And then also the Schmapple company, Vincent Schmapple and Gentle Knight, are also now in contention with each other in competition, and they have like multiple objects within Life and Death. I can just tell the team had so much fun with it. Just like I had fun recording this video and reading all of these myself. I would personally love to hear your theories on all of these. Do you think like maybe astrology is still coming? Do you think that is wishful thinking on my part? I'm still not gonna stop talking about my want for hobbies and a bands pack. Those two, like, out of all of these, are like my highest wish. Obviously, I would also love for mermaids to get an update and an upgrade and a refresh. I honestly feel so sorry for Island Living. I love Sulani. I love so many elements of that pack. It's just, I feel like people only focus on mermaids and like how disappointing they actually were. And I would love that pack just to have a little bit of redemption purely for me, because I have such a soft spot for it. But if there's anything else that I spoke about in this video that you absolutely would love to see, if you're maybe like, no, I do not agree with you, I do not want that in my game, also let me know. If there's also any hints or themes that you think maybe I haven't picked up on, I would also love to hear those. It is interesting to me how maybe at this point my mind is just like seeing things that I want to see, or it is actually like starting to be hints and like the team are just kind of having fun with it. I do think it's really funny how in Growing Together we seem to have like Castaway, like Solitude, Islands, like pirates and that kind of thing, and we haven't really seen that element be brought back just yet. But now we're seeing more of like the general travel and like world. It's like these things are evolving like as they maybe like shift and change production. But who am I to say? This is all just in good fun. This is me reading into things and dissecting, and also just getting my wants and wishes for The Sims 4 across just as much as you lot down in the comments. I appreciate you all so much for tuning in though, and I will speak to you all in my next one. Bye now.